Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be with Vinayak. He secured a rank of 68 in CLAT. And while doing preparation, apparently was hoping that at least he'll get Nalsar because his father was posted there. So let's find out more about his journey. It'll be exciting. So Vinayak, expected during your preparation stage that this would happen?
No, sir.
Why not?
Sir, because like we all judge ourselves on the basis of mock scores and our preparation and how we are performing in comparison to others. And at that stage, I could never say that I could get a rank in double digits. So it
So
was
why? What
little.
was the score? What was the scores in mocks? Th-
Sir, back in Jan and Feb, it was around 90 to 100 range, but I improved up to almost 110 average marks during the March month, March and April, when we had the last few countdown mocks. So it was improving, but then I basically believe that 60 to 70% of my score depended upon the question paper. So if it was something that I understood well, then I could score well. But if it was something out of my knowledge, I mean, whatever I had, even in the GK sections, so if you have questions which you haven't prepared for, then the marks automatically come down there. So it all gets impacted.
So when you took the CLAT, what were your assessment? Was it in your zone? This paper was in your zone? Was this
Yes,
the
sir. I
actual?
felt that it was in my zone. Apart from the GK section, all other sections were went really well for me, and legal passages were quite simple. And only the catch was the English section where the passages went up to one page. But while starting the paper, I had skimmed through all the sections and I had prepared myself mentally that I am going to finish this in 30 minutes. So it then worked out that way. And the best part was the math section. The math section had all questions on the basis of ratio and proportion. And I personally feel that my maths was a bit strong. So I could fetch myself 20 to 23 minutes for the math section. I could get all the marks in that. So that really helped.
So when you say your GK was, did you get affected by the GK in any way during the test, or what happened?
Yes, GK normally I'd expect around 25, 26 marks, but I could score only 16 or 17. So that was a drawback there.
So when did you? So during the paper, the Kab likha, when was your order of GK? When did it come in
It was
the
the
scheme
first
of?
section. First.
So the first section you used to get 25. Now you got 16. So how did you manage the rest? Did you feel that, oh my god, this is over, or it's like it's
No,
just a
sir.
test? So what was the
No,
frame of
sir.
mind?
Like I've always focused on one thing that no matter what mock I'm attempting or whichever question I'm doing at that point of time, I just try not to get into a negative attitude about for the rest of the paper, because even if one section goes down a little bit, I know that I can pull it back up using other sections. And I had formulated this order of attempting the sections in March, and I didn't want to change it because it had worked after that. Like after that, the mock scores had improved gradually. So my order was GK, critical reasoning, legal reasoning, English, and then mathematics. And I stuck to that because even all the teachers and you were saying that we shouldn't really do any changes in the last week. So then I stuck with that, and I just went for it, and it turned out well.
Okay, so what you're saying that when you're going through the GK, you are feeling like, acha, everybody is facing the same trouble.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Why should
Yes, sir.
I be the special one who's gonna sit and worry about it? I think this CLAT was about how well people can handle the nerves. That's what I think this CLAT turned out to be.
Yes, sir.
Uh, so coming to your section wise, other section apart from GK, what was your sort of, if I look at each section, how do you rate your level in terms of I would say skill set of other sections of the CLAT apart from GK?
Sir, I think critical reasoning was as compared to the questions which we have faced in CL and other mocks. I think the level was easy only. Just the options were a little bit twisted, which made it a little difficult. But apart from that, I felt that the passages were really well designed, and so were the questions. But obviously, the reasoning section has to be a little bit tricky, so it turned out that way. And legal, I love the legal reasoning section, sir. Like the passages were really simple and we could understand it well, I guess. And the questions were also pretty straightforward, except for one or two passages which we can expect. And the English section was like the questions were the type which we had practiced throughout our preparation, but only the difference was the length of the passages. It spanned across one page, and all the six passages were of the same length almost. So that could have been a little time consuming, but I somehow managed to read through it in a minute and a half, and it saved time there as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. So during the preparation stage, did you have any trouble with any specific section or
Sir, I was very scared of GK and maths because
maths?
yeah, sir, because when I started preparing that time, all the mocks and questions were being formed on the basis of the 2020 format, where you
Correct.
had four different passages, and one of them used to be about geometry, and like you would be remembering the question from CLAT 2020 where they have given dimensions of a room and objects inside it. So those type of questions I thought that I could never complete in 15 minutes, and I was very scared of that section. In fact, I used to score zero in that section in the early mocks which I have given. But then eventually 2021 came by, and they had changed the pattern and they had made it simpler. And that's when I thought that my basic calculations are good and I can complete that section in 15 minutes or 20 minutes at max. And that's why I just didn't give up on that, and I made sure that I at least attempted five questions, even if the other sections were proving to be lengthy.
So eventually in the CLAT, how many marks did you get in maths?
I got all 15, sir.
Wonderful. So without maths, this wouldn't have happened.
No, sir, no way.
So for anyone listening, there are a lot many people who are scared of maths, afraid of maths. What is Vinayak's Vishesh Tipni to them?
So just you have to be like, it's not about being thorough with high concepts or differentials or integrals, nothing like that. You just have to have a hold on basic calculations, multiplication tables, basic ratio and proportions, so that you don't spend time solving them on paper. Like, you should be able to solve them mentally, and that's not a very difficult task. You can learn that with practice. It's very simple, and it fetches you marks when everyone is, because sir, the main advantage with maths is that even after you counseling us for so long and all teachers saying ki do attempt maths, because if you're not attempting maths, you're scoring out of 135, you're not scoring out of 150. And I knew that even after all that, there would be only 10 or 15% people who would attempt all the maths questions, and I just took my leverage there and I went for all of them, and they proved to be correct. So that helped me, sir.
So anyone listening, okay, take this advice. So whatever feeling that you have towards maths irrelevant, at the end of the day, it is crackable. So that is about maths. Okay, let's go to legal. So in legal, what do you do? What is your advice? What do you think work for you?
Sir, like GP sir has said previously, I don't attempt legal section like a knowledge-based section. I take it like an RC section only, and I just try to because legal sections, in reality, they are much more easy to comprehend as compared to a critical reasoning passage or an English passage, because it's very straightforward. If this situation happens, you have to apply this principle, and if the other situation happens, then you have to deal it with that way. So and luckily this time the passages were pretty simple and straightforward, so I could sail through them easily. And apart from that, the classes which we had earlier, like in 2020 and 21, about the law of contracts, thoughts and everything, eventually even that helped, because that gives you a basic knowledge about how law will work, and obviously it will help us in the future as well.
So are you saying that a little bit of pre-knowledge of certain basic stuff will really help in?
Yes, sir, it will help. Because if you are having a little bit of knowledge about the basic stuff, then you will not take decisions on an emotional basis. Because that happened many times when we were in our beginning stages. The question had to be solved using the principles, and we started applying our emotional feelings and all that, and we messed up. So
अरे
that
बेचारा
knowledge,
इसको गिल्टी नहीं क्या है अच्छा आदमी है इसको
ha,
गिल्टी
yes,
है
sir.
ऐसा सो अच्छा चलो ठीक है अब अभी अंग्रेजी इंग्लिश व्हाट अबाउट your good reading habit you are always good or like you have to fight it during the clat prep what was it
I fight it, sir. I had a very slow reading speed. Like I used to take 2.5 minutes for a 400 word passage, and I felt that that was really slow because my thought process was that the faster I finish off the passage, the more time I can spend working out the questions, because that is much more important. You can read the passage, but ultimately what matters is how many questions you solve and how much you are able to understand and get them correct. And Jyoti ma'am helped me a lot in this. She suggested me to read novels per day for 15 minutes and then increase the number of pages that I can read. And I started that from November, December, and eventually it helped me pick up a lot of pace. And then when we had our boot camp, sir, that time Siddharth sir also gave a lot of guidance on this topic. Like he advised us to focus on the things that we should read, because everything in the passage is not worth reading. We need to know the main idea and the opinion, and that helps us solve most of the questions. So eventually I could cut that time down from 2.5 minutes to a minute or 15 seconds, and that gave me a lot of time for the questions, and that eventually helped me solve most of them.
Are you saying that you read 400 words passage in about minute and a half? That's what it's telling me.
Yes, yes, sir, I could do that. Because if
Oh,
I'm not focusing on every fact, if I'm not focusing on keeping everything in mind in the first read, then I can finish it in a minute and a half or so. And then obviously, when I'm solving the question, I make sure that I cross check it so that my facts are not wrong.
all right. So basically, you worked hard towards ensuring that your reading strategy is in place, that
Yes,
you're
sir.
not giving equal importance to every sentence. You know which sentence is important, which
Yes,
sentence
sir.
you're going to remember, sentence you're going to leave in the passage. That's what you did.
Absolutely.
It took how long for you to develop these skills?
It's a ongoing process, sir. Like 5 months, 6 months into it, I was prepared for CLAT, but obviously there is always scope for development.
Right. So, logic, did you have any trouble, or you could manage it well? How
For
did you
this
how,
particular for this particular paper, or in
in
throughout my
general
preparation?
throughout the preparation?
There was a difficulty, sir. Logical reasoning, earlier I had scores of 15, 13, 12. Then it went up to 20, 19, something like that. And eventually I thought that even if I can get 19 or 20, that would be enough. And I could score 19 in the 2022 paper. So I was satisfied with that. Obviously, there could have been a few more marks, but it's okay.
So now it's good. It's good. You would have probably got
Yes, sir.
uh, maybe 2 3 more correct. So
Yeah.
GK कैसा था? How was your GK prep?
Sir, GK, I felt that the events which they had taken up were not so much in limelight. Like they weren't the ones which we had been revising throughout the last few months, and but still we had been going through the monthans and the newspapers, so I had a general idea about the event, and I could at max attempt one or two questions in the ones which I did not have any idea at all. But apart from that, it was a medium difficulty, sir, but not definitely not an easy one.
So in terms of preparation, what you did for GK? You said
Sir,
month and
Manthan, I did the weekly Manthan 2, and most importantly, I revised the mocks, because the mocks had a very comprehensive uh, database of questions as well as the information which followed the solution. So that basically gave me a fair idea about the event and important things which I should be covering.
so it'll be crazy for people looking at next year, no, looking at the paper, what all I should cover. This is
Yeah.
like so. For example, it's like next to impossible to look at predict this. So what do you think? For example, somebody from so next CLAT is happening this December.
Yes,
So
sir.
now people have roughly 6 months. They'll come and tell you, Vinayak, so you the crazy it is. What should I do? Should I study every single event, or what would be your what would Vinayak tell them?
Sir, I think like where they are going into very technical things, like they were asking questions about satellites and all that, and their range, and like those are very technical things. So even I don't expect anyone to be very thorough through them. But apart from that, where they were asking about the green energy partnership and all those things, I think you can cover it up through newspapers. But obviously the past data is a little bit difficult to track, because those times have gone. We don't have the newspapers, neither can we go and open them and revise them. So basically, I felt that since the pattern has changed, they have become they are trying to cover not just events of the year which went through, but they're also trying to cover events all the way from 2020. So I think if the aspirants can take up a few events from like beginning from 2020 till their exam date, and revise them on a like not a very deep discussion through it, not a very deep analysis, but briefly, and get through the main points. I think it will be enough to get through the
But
GK section.
that'll be crazy, you know. So
Yes, sir. It will be
अपने
crazy.
ये 3 महीने का event itself is so painful to look at.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
I have a different theory, right? Let's start by assuming that I'm going to get 15 in GK. Okay. From the rest of it, it's possible for me to get 90.
Absolutely.
ये मेरा thought है अभी हाँ. So can I get, let's say, uh, almost everything from maths? Is it possible for me to knock off out of 35 in 30 in English, right? 30 in English, is it possible to cross, let's say, touch about 25? Is it possible for me to look at about 20 in logic? Is it possible for me to look at 30 plus in this one? Is it possible to look at this? Ensure that, because GK is knowledge based, and I don't know what. Did you get the Zelensky question correct?
Yes, sir. I got that correct.
I'm asking everyone. So it is impossible to go back and look at it. So ensure that with at least if a paper. So I think the best thing one can do is that read newspaper, focus on the current thing. If some random event happens, it happens, because I don't think that anyone answered all these questions. मुझे नहीं लगता है
Sir,
मतलब.
I personally feel that my main advice to the aspirants is that don't overspend time on GK, because ultimately it would yield a very small result of your total marks, and focus more on your concepts and try to become perfect in the other sections.
Because you still have 115 marks from the rest,
15
right?
marks. Yeah,
So out of the 150 mark, ensure that you're touching as close to, let's say, 90
90.
plus,
90.
and then do stuff with GK. I think unfortunately, CLAT has GK for whatever is the reason. It has got GK, and then they ask random questions. So it is what it is. So at least on a worst case scenario, 90 plus, let's say 15 will get me close more than 100. On a good day, 90 plus 25 will get me somewhere else, which is nice. In this journey, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to, helped you in the process?
Of course, sir. Like there were four of us, me, Arnab Kumar, Namya, and Avni. So we had formed a study group, I think in March, and what we used to do is from countdown 17 or 18. I think countdown mock 17 onwards, we analyzed all the mocks together, and we used to sit for 2 3 hours continuously, and we used to analyze each and every questions. We used to overlook. I mean, we used to go through each and every person's mistake individually. So because if you are analyzing on your own, you only go through your own mistakes. But when you are analyzing together, then everyone's mistake come into the spotlight, and you can understand their way of thinking and the proper way of interpretation. So analyzing the mocks together really helped, and we didn't focus that much on GK. Like we tried to cover a few topics in the sports and climate field, but then we felt that ultimately that's the thing, that if you overspend time on GK, you are basically reducing the time you can utilize on other sections. So we focus more on pure analysis, legal section, English, CR, and we used to understand why someone has answered it in this manner, and then we used to correct each other and rectify our mistakes, and eventually that improved all of our mock scores. So a big shout out to all the three of my friends.
Wonderful, wonderful. So you create a study group. You figured out what are the things. I think GK at the end of the day, it's an individual. What is there
Yeah.
collectively? What can you do? I think you have to
Yes, sir.
individually pick up stuff, but you figured out that there are other areas that you can look at. So um, you are heading to hopefully NLSIU Bangalore. That's where.
Yes, sir.
Any plans, or you're like, let me figure out what happened later. But is there any, or you have any idea in terms of what you want to do? Law, mein?
Law में my father basically says कि corporate law is an emerging field, and उसमें भी there are a lot of options. So ultimately we'll decide when we have to at in the college, but I'll be looking forward to corporate law most probably.
Wonderful, Vinayak. Thank you for spending the time with us. All the very best, and wish you the very best in everything that you do in your life.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.